Actually called IGBO today, IGBO, you know, which is wrong. They call them the Igbos or the Igbos. It's a corruption of this word in English. We actually thought on this many times. Now, this is the word that we're looking at today. In light of our teaching, the harvesting of the earth, the word we're looking at, this is the ku, kuf, kafel, or ku sound. Then you have the sadi. This is sode, you know, if you will. Sode, if you will. And then we have the yod, gives you the Y sound. The character gives you the Y sound. And then you have the reish. It gives you the R or the real sound. So we're going to do the transliteration as always. You can understand that. Here you have the ku. It actually is supposed to give you a ku sound. Ku, which is pure sound, which can also be represented with the K sound as well. The K sound, or ka, KW, if you will. But I'm going to use the ku right here. So I'm going to use the ku sound. And then this gives you the sadi, which is actually it gives you the T and the Z sound. Or sometimes it can be the T and the S sound. Tsad. T and the S sound. And then this gives you the Roish R sound. And then, I'm sorry, the Yod, correction. Going a little too fast. This gives you the Y sound, if you will. And then this gives you the R sound. So these are the natural characters in this word. You see that? This is the natural character. And you can actually pronounce it with the natural character, if you will. So you can actually pronounce it kwashir. That's the word. Kwachi or kwashir or kwashiro is the Hebrew word of the day. And then they want you to pronounce it this way. obviously you have the transitional sound. There's always a transitional sound. You have the kwa. And then kwashi. There's the I right here. And then you should have an E right here. These are sounds that actually do exist, that must be there naturally. That's what they call natural transitional sound. Kwashiero. And the root right there is kwashi. 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 And then the sound that Strong's Concordance, how we want you to pronounce it, is kwa. You have kwa, then T-S-E-E-R, kwashiero. Interesting. And it means, you find this word in Hebrew, H7105. H7105 is where you find this word in your Strong's Concordance, and it means to sever. You know where you get that? From this word that I underlined, to sever. In our language, we're the Hebrews, the Negroes. This word right here is kwashi. If you're harvesting a plant, I say, no, na kwachashi akoko. Or na kwashi, which means to cut in pieces, to pluck up. But if you're an Igbo speaker, listen to this for our people that still speak Hebrew in this left coast of Africa, the real Jews. Listen to the definition, and you're going to know this is your language. It says here, it means sever, that is to harvest as reaped. The crop, the time, the reaper, or figuratively also a limb of a tree, or simply foliage. And then he says, the bough, the branch, the harvest, or harvestman. But I'm going to go to the root where it comes from. That's 7714. That's Hebrew 7114. 7114. 7114 is actually spelled exact same way. The only difference is that it does not have the yod there. This is the difference now. How it's spelled. This is the kuf. And then this is the zayin. And then you have the raish or roishi. This right here is kwashir or kwashiero. Or kwashir, which, again, the root right here is kwashi. You have the ku. You have the TZ or TS, if you will, which gives you the sade. Sadi is what they call it. Sade. S, and then the R. This is kwashiero. Again, you still have the same root right there. Kwashir, right there. The interesting thing is that when you go to this root, it means to dock off. On our kwachashi. That is to curtail transitively, literally or figuratively, especially to harvest grass or grain. We still speak this language in this left coast of Africa. This is our native language. If you want to tell someone to go harvest, especially leaves, that's how my grandmother tells us, because she plants leaves. And then my father is here laughing because he knows what it means. And my mother. Amazing. So linguistics is one of the greatest ways to identify who the real Jews are, because we're still here speaking the ancient language of creation, the language of angels. Continuing with the definition, it means to harvest a grass or grain at all, to cut down, absolutely, kwachashi. That right here, kwachir or kwachashi means to cut down. So to cut down, to harvest, to lose, to trouble, to reap, to shorten. Amazing.
It's also to shorten.
It also to shorten. Absolutely. My brother, yeah, he got it too. Because when something is grown, and then you have to harvest it, you have to shorten it.
Yep.
Kwachashe, which means to call it shorter. And it comes from this word. The root right there is kwashi. In fact, this word kwa.
Kwa, that's
it. This word kwa means to cut.
Yep.
In our language.
Yep.
Amazing. So again, the Hebrew word of the day, quashero, or quasher, means what? Harvest. Harvest is the Hebrew word of the day. Why? Because the earth is being harvested, brothers and sisters. The earth is in peril and is being harvested. And we are being prepared for the harvest. We are planted in this earth to be harvested. So without any further ado, we will go into the teaching today, the harvesting of the earth.
Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field.
Which sowed a what?
Good seed in his field.
Go ahead.
But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way.
So evil and goodness growing together. Go ahead.
But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruits, then appeared the tares also.
Then appeared the what?
The tares also.
The tares also. The enemy sowed the tear, just like the master sowed the good. Because when we saw in Genesis, when we go back to Genesis, everything they planted was good. He's the greatest farmer. Just like us, the true Hebrews. If you're looking for the Hebrews, you find the farmers of the earth. Even though the industrialists have taken over the lands, taking over our crops, bringing GMOs. It's also part of the design agenda to cause much peril and starvation and famine in the earth, as before the flood. That's what the globalists and the capitalists are actually doing in Africa right now, and indigenous lands of the world. Go ahead.
So the servants of the household came and said unto him, Sir, did not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then had it tares?
Did you not sow good seed in thy field? How come you have tares? Go ahead.
He said unto them, An enemy had done this.
What did he say?
An enemy had done this.
Go ahead.
An enemy had done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest ye gather up, while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them.
Just in case if you're gathering the righteous, you actually destroyed. Gathering the unrighteous, you destroy the righteous. So the Most High said what?
Let both grow together.
What did he say?
Let both grow together.
And that's why you see the complexity of life, good and evil existing at such extremities of death and peril and poverty. When you're looking at our people suffering across the world, in Jamaica and Haiti, across slave coast of Africa, I must reiterate there for the record. You see our people everywhere that don't understand there's no social program, there's no economic package that can deliver our people from their peril besides the one that subjected us and subjected the whole earth. In fact, the so-called Negro slaves, the Mexicans, indigenous, North American Indians, the so-called Latinos, Puerto Ricans, North Central South Americans that were indigenous suffering. The Negro slaves in America and the slave coast of Africa, from Ghana down to Angola, Haiti, Nigeria, the Igbos. And none of us is trying to come together to understand what's coming. But Christ is about to force the earth. The events that are developing in the earth are going to force the earth to begin to look for alternative. You're looking at environmental degradation. You're looking at nuclear materials that's in the earth today with their technology that was released. You're looking at population explosion. Despite all these things, we saw the dwindling of European population too. They're going through it. What you call the retentive capacity, or the ratio that requires a race to actually reciprocate themselves or sustain themselves in the earth, is at 2.5%. In terms of childbirth, they're actually at 1.3%. So if they continue like this, they'll go extinct. And they know this thing. But the people that are actually growing despite our oppression are the Hebrews. Think about that. But only a remnant of us will make it. So we are all being prepared, both Jews and Gentiles, in this plane of life for the greatest harvest. As things get difficult and get worse, And that's what we're about to see. Read it.
Matthew chapter 13, verse 30. Let both grow together.
Let good and evil what?
Grow together.
Why?
Until the harvest.
Until when?
Until the harvest.
Until the harvest. The Hebrew word of the day. Kwashe or kwachashe, kwashe, kwashero. Kwachashi, which means to cut. The time of threshing. Kwacha, when the Messiah is coming to thresh. This is the language of the Negroes, the Hebrews in the slave coast of Africa. Us, our language. This is the Hebrew word in the Bible, letting you know that the Bible was written by our ancestors. We cannot overemphasize that. Read on.
Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares.
You're going to keep in mind who the reapers are. You'll find out the angels are the reapers. Go ahead.
Gather ye together first the tares.
The what?
The tares.
The wickedness will be done away with first. What does that mean? Christ is coming for war. Judgment. He's coming to judge the earth first, before the righteous can enjoy. So is the what? The plan of salvation. So is the kingdom. Read it.
Gather you together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn.
But gather the wheat into my what?
My barn.
Into my what?
My barn.
My grandfather, my grandmother, we the Hebrews, we have all kinds of barns. It was that from the ancient, where they're going to be preserved and protected. Yes, Oba. Sister said Oba, absolutely. These are all Hebrew. When Christ was here, he was among Hebrews, black people. Mm-hmm. We saw in Bible Dictionary, Zondervan Bible Dictionary, where it tells you that the Hebrews are Negroes, are black. Last night, in last night's teaching. So it's not even up for debate anymore who the holy people are. We just need to get together and awaken ourselves for this great harvesting. Read it.
That was done. Verse 30.
That was verse 30, right? Mm-hmm. So with that now, let's go now to the beginning and see the master that set up the barn. The greatest barn is the earth, or the field of planting. The greatest field is this earth. Let's look at it. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Read it.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth.
In the beginning, Boraishi Boro Boreto. That's in the Hebrew, our language. In the beginning, the powers divided as a formative process. They created what?
The heaven and the earth.
Shomayim, the lofty high place. In Hebrew, the word Mayim means a place that is high above. Mayenu. Shomayim and what?
And the earth.
Irezi. So let's look at that. The field. We're going to look at the word for field. The word, what he created the heaven and the earth. So let's take a look at that. The Jews will let you know what that means, us. Here is the word. In Genesis chapter 1, he tells you what he created. This is going to be synonymous to the same field that Christ is describing. What you're going to see that everything that happens that Christ was speaking is actually telling you a literal experience. Mm-hmm. He's describing the parables are real. The parables are living experiences. For example, the word irezi, this is the Aleph in Hebrew, and then you have the Roishi. It gives you the R, if you will, and then you have the Ezi, Irezi, Irezi. This gives you the, here the R is being used as the A. This is Irezi. And then you have the Roishi. and then you have the TZ. This is the Hebrew Erezi, amazing. And then you have the transitional sound that actually do exist here naturally. You find this in Hebrew 776, and it means to be firm, the earth at large. It means a country, a field, a ground, a land, a nation, a way, a wilderness, the world. In fact, we the Jews, we call this a Z. This right here is a Z. Right here is a Z or AZ. This TZ sound like, this TS actually sound like TZ. This is a Z. A Z. Or simply, AZ. AZ means outside, the expanse. In fact, when somebody comes from the villages, we say that, oh, Imezi, somebody from the deep villages or the deep wilderness or the forest. So here is Iro. This R here means the outskirt, the outside wilderness, the outside expanse. Exactly what the Messiah is describing. He's describing what the Father did in the beginning in that parable. We have a sister from the tribe of Judah going nuts because she knows what this means. So he created the lofty and Erezi, which is the field and the world. What else did he do? Read verse 2.
Verse 2. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
And the what?
And darkness.
And what?
And darkness.
Darkness was what?
Upon the face of the deep.
Upon the face of the deep. Omimi, our language. We've proven the Bible, brothers and sisters. For anyone that wants to know, the Jews are here now to defend their gospel. Upon the face of the deep. Darkness, and we saw that darkness is wickedness, evil, sorrow. This is a possibility, direction, or possible direction that the earth would have gone through. When you go to that word darkness in the Hebrew is kochika. You have ko, to cover, and chika or chika means to destroy, destructive darkness. Nkochi, nechike chika, our language. It means darkness, destruction, misery, death, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness, darkness, obscurity. Letting you know what will happen to the earth. If men disobeyed, the earth will go through much peril. How do we know it's true? Well, look at the world we live in today. We're going through much peril. Darkness was not supposed to overtake the earth. So the video that we played, that we taught on this before, the darkness took over the earth. And you need the master to come back. He gave divine word. Let's see what else he planted. Jump down to verse 11 to 12.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 11, and it says, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass.
Let the earth what?
Bring forth grass.
Go ahead.
The herbs yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruits after his kind.
After its what?
After his kind.
They have the same genetic material to reciprocate themselves after it or her kind, meaning that the seed and the earth and the plant contain the same information for procreation. So what was planted originally will continue to reciprocate themselves, which is the gene contained in the seed and the plant. And the same word was also used to describe mankind. The word in the Hebrew for seed is zara. We saw that last night. Read it.
Whose seed is in itself.
Whose seed is in what?
Is in itself.
Contains the same genetic material. Go ahead.
Upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind. And the tree yielding fruits, whose seed was in itself after his kind.
After it what?
And after his kind.
Go ahead.
And Elohim saw that it was good.
And the powers saw what?
That it was good.
When you go into the Hebrew, there's a word that you miss there that is now represented in the English. But it's there in the Hebrew. In our language, go to Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and read that.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth.
There's a word that you miss there. This is the A and this is the To. This is Ato or Eto. He tells you that he created the heaven and earth for the A and the To, which is Christ. This is a mark. This is a strong mark. Christ is Eto. In the beginning, he created everything for Christ. That's what it tells you in the Hebrew, our language. And you're going to find out that everything points to him because it's the strong mark to identify. This is the signature of the Creator. And you need to have this imprinted in you to be harvested, by the way. If you don't have this mark, you're not going to be harvested. It tells that in the Hebrew. It's Ato or Eto. That's our language. This is the person that is using to set up all these things. Christ was being used to set up everything. So read that verse. So you saw the plant, everything was being planted by him because the powers are all doing this together. And he's going to send it back at the end down. Watch this now. Continue.
Verse 13. Genesis chapter 1 verse 13.
Genesis chapter 1. We read verse 1, 11 to 12, right?
That's correct.
Jump down to verse 20 to 21.
Verse 20. Genesis chapter 1 verse 20. And it reads, and Elohim said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that had life.
That had what?
That had life.
We saw the word for life. We've looked at this many times. The word for life in Hebrew is chi. That's why we call him Chineke. In Hebrew, this is chi. The chi that created life. That set up all this stuff. Elohim, Elohim, chi. Go ahead.
Verse 20 says, and Elohim said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that had life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Elohim created great whales, and every living creatures that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowls after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good.
And Elohim saw what?
That it was good.
Everything was good. He's setting his farm. The farmer is setting his farm. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
He set up the waters. Everything in the waters. Jump down to verse 24 and read down to verse 25. We're looking at what Christ is describing in what we read in Matthew chapter 13, Matthew chapter 13. Read it.
Verse 24 says, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures.
Let him bring forth what?
The living creatures.
Chi, living creatures, come on.
After his kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so.
And it was what?
And it was so.
Everything is coming from this erase from the earth. He's describing how he set up everything. The farmland. These are the things that you find in a true farm. Aquatic life, plant life. Then you have mammals. All the different things that you find in a rich, luscious farm. Amazing. He's the farmer. What verse?
Verse 25 now.
Go ahead.
And Elohim made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good.
And saw that it was what?
It was good.
And saw that it was good. Now, he's making it for someone. Let's find out who he's making it for. Jump down to verse 26.
26 says, and Elohim said, let us make
Let
man.
what?
Let us.
Let what?
Let us.
Let us. Why? Because it's the powers that are forming all this stuff. It was more than one. The word is Allah or Allahayim. The powers them that gave the water of life, that gave everything. They said, let what?
Let us make.
Let us. Letting you know that there's more than one doing this stuff. Make what?
Let us make man in our image, after our likeness.
Go ahead.
And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
And creepeth upon the earth. Go ahead.
So Elohim created man in his own image, in the image of
So
Elohim.
stop right there. Let's see when he formed them. Go to chapter 2 and read verse 7. But he's about to make his greatest creation, which is reciprocating himself. He's going to use this, the image, the eto. We saw Christ is the ato, the a and the to. This is the beginning. This is the first letter in the Hebrew, the first and the last. The beginning and the end is that image of creation that is going to use to create man in that image of this first thing that he formed, which is that the Christ mark, the vision, the concept, the idea for life. Read on.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 7. And the Most High Power formed man out of the dust of the ground.
Out of the what?
Out of the dust of the ground.
A black man from the what?
Out of the dust of the ground.
The word there is Alpha of the ground. Alpha Nime Adama. So he's forming man. When you go into the Hebrew, it tells you, oh yeah, Ahaya Alahayam, your child, no your child. It tells that he created for Christ, for the eto, mankind, for him and by him. Exactly what is being written in the book of John chapter 1 verse 1 down to 3. All things were made by him. Without him was anything made that was made. He formed man for Christ. Or he formed man through Christ, through the eto. And what happened? And this time there was no life. Come on.
And breathed into him, into his nostrils, the breath of life.
The breath of what?
The breath of life.
The breath of Christ. Chi, because that life is the chi. He breathed chi, consciousness. And the word there is Neshama Maluchi, which is the word for consciousness. So you have the big chi, or big life, that's giving us life to exist in this dimension. This is the greatest planting that he planted that will be harvested one day. That's why we say in Hebrew, we call it Elu Owa. The word Owa is the Hebrew word for this earth. You can use Owa or Az or Irezi. We are all sojourners in this plane of existence because we're breathed into this plane of existence where there's much sorrow and peril. And we will be harvested. The great harvester is coming to harvest. He breathed into his nostril the what?
The breath of life.
Go ahead.
And man became a living soul.
Chi nepeshi. We became chi that was given life to live actively, vibrant life. So we saw exactly what Christ just described. The whole book of Genesis, when you deal with that, that's exactly what Christ was describing. But we know that the Satan, the wicked one, is going to come to do something. Genesis chapter 2. Read verse 16 to 17.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 16, and it reads,
Here comes the planter sets up the farm, and now he's going to give his word to what his greatest creation. Read it.
Verse 16 says,
Here's what terrifies the world. This is what the world is terrified about. Read it.
And Ahaya Alahayim commanded the man.
He did what?
Commanded the man.
He did what?
Commanded
the
man.
law is coming in place now. The world hates it. The people of this earth don't like the law. They want total freedom to do whatever. But here comes the one that set up everything. He's orderly. He commanded the man what?
Saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest eat freely, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it.
Why?
For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
So now we see choices now. Do you obey or do you disobey? We're looking at choices now. With choices now comes what? The possibility to disobey. And also judgment when you disobey. And reward that comes with that. These are all eternal things that were set up from the very beginning. he commanded Adam, saying, don't deal with this level of information. There's something that is in this thing that will expose that darkness that was in the beginning, that will make the earth in much sorrow and peril. And much, look at the earth today. People can't even find something to eat. If you lose your job right now, you're homeless because you're 2 paychecks away from being homeless. And the corporation are controlling all these resources now, and they placed a price tag on all these things that were supposed to be free. The water is free, the water is free, the air is free, the plants are free, the things, the eggs that come from chicken, they're all free. But because capitalism, which Satan has set up these nice sounding philosophical words, because the Most High did not set up this world not to rule it, he set it up to rule it. But we know here comes something that had to happen. Man will fall. So commandments, as we saw, Apostle Paul tells that the commandment is intended for life. The reason why he gave us the commandment is to get the tree of life. We've taught on that many times. I don't want to dwell on this. Jump down to verse 3. Chapter 3, verse 1. So now there's a possibility for sin now, for man to fall. So the intended, Apostle Paul said in Romans that the commandment is intended for life. So if we obeyed, we would have gotten life, and man would have maximized his full potential. And that's what the existentialist and the scientific community is trying to tell us that we can achieve through Satan. We can recreate ourselves. We can use science to take ourselves to that dimension when the Most High subjected everything to death and decay and entropy because of our disobedience. Read it.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. More subtle than any beast of the field.
Now when you look at the word for serpent, we saw it's nakoshi, and our language. He is the prognosticator. He's the one that brings experimentation. He brings science. Let me read that in the Hebrew. That's chapter 3, right?
Yeah, Genesis chapter 3, verse 1.
And it's the word nakoshi is called the snake, or koshalo. And that comes from prognostication. It means to hiss, a whisper, magic. It means to divine, augur, to learn by experience, to observation of time. This is high esoteric science. This is the origin of the Illuminati, brothers and sisters. The serpent was there to capitalize at our very beginning. Read it.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High Power had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, did Elohim said that ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden.
Jump down to verse 4.
Verse 4 says, And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for Elohim doth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened.
How?
And ye shall be as gods.
And ye shall be as what?
As gods.
You are already gods. We are already Elohim that have chi. He gave us his chi. So here comes the deceptive that will move the earth in a different direction. Ye shall not surely die. A counter information from the commandment. The possibility to disobey. Read it.
Knowing good and evil.
Go ahead.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, a tree to be desired to make one wise.
A tree to be desired for what?
To make one wise.
A level of information and knowledge. How do you think NASA came about? And NSA? How do you think chemistry came about? How do you think the level of scientific creativity that is in the earth to create atomic bomb through what the formula they call the law of thermodynamics? E equals mc squared. Who have that level of knowledge to destroy much earth to the level they're dealing with nanotechnology and cellular technology right now, where they can actually destroy the earth in a second? What you call anatoms. We are living in a, that's the information that's why the Nakoshi is full of science and technology and wisdom on what to do. And now he's offering a diversional information of the earth. So when you see the European power that actually controls the earth today, is intended for them. They understand this stuff. That's why they guide the secret through the Illuminati and the Freemasons that really controls the government. It was in that very beginning. They called themselves the harbingers of ancient secret from the esoteric schools. And Kabbalists, we've been looking at this for a while now. Go ahead.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eye.
It was what?
Pleasant to the eye.
Go ahead.
And a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof.
So man fell. Now the earth is in peril and will be harvested. The possibility to go good or evil, life or death, we chose death. And now the power, the dominion went to serpent. Now it's going to be given it to the powers of the earth. Follow this, follow through with me now. Judgment comes right away upon the serpent, upon the woman, and upon the man, and upon the whole earth to disobey the divine order from the chief farmer, the harvester himself. So here we go. So the Nakoshi introduced that's the sorcery, the science, to recreate the world in a whole different direction. The earth has been moved to a whole different direction from where it was supposed to be, brothers and sisters. That's why you're feeling the pain. That's why you're going through what we're going through. So now, we're going to go to chapter 3, verse 14 to 15. Because now this is going to set up the rat race that we all are involved in today. It's going to set up the rat race that we are dealing with in the earth today. Genesis chapter 13, verse 14 and 15.
And the Most High, Ahaya Alahayim, said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this,
he has revealed the information, now taking dominion, death and sorrow and mourning and misery, darkness, now will overtake the earth. But his power got what he's looking for. He used the power of the mind to trick man to disobey. Because we had free will. It was also an eternal. Free will is an eternal principle. The Most High said, because thou hast done this, here's the judgment that will put all of us in a rat race, a conflict that we are all in this earth. What is it?
Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field, and upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity.
I will put a what?
Enmity.
A what?
Enmity.
Friction, war, hatred. Wow.
Between thee and the woman.
Go ahead.
And between thy seed and her seed.
So there's going to be two bloodlines in the earth. The Israelites, the woman, where Christ will rise up, the Eto. And the serpent has his own people, the Amalekites, control the Gentile government, European powers that has Amalek. They're linked in with the Nephilim blood. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bundys, these powers controlling the earth under Satan, they know this information. They're coming, the harvest is also coming against them first. Like we saw, he took away the tear first. And they know this, so what do you think they're preparing for? They're preparing to get rid of us before the time runs out. Because they control the secret society, the Illuminati. Go ahead.
So between thy seed, it said 15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed.
Go ahead.
It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
And thou shalt bruise his what?
His heel.
So that started the rat race. So that we are in this rat race. How did the Mosai begin to do his own rat race? Serpent is doing his own. He infiltrated the human genome. Fallen angels came down, mingled with human women to pollute the bloodline so that the Eto will not come back and correct this whole mess again. So now this is the regeneration is going on, but we still have to be harvested at the end of the farming season. So this whole life is a farm. This whole life is a farm. So let's look at that now. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 1. Second Ezra in the Apocrypha. We're looking at this rat race. So mankind fall. Now we're going to look at him through Abraham. He's going to choose the Israelites. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, Ichikakwa, na Yakobe, us. The 12 tribes of Israel, the chosen race, will come. And we're going to be in much peril because we're in this battle against the serpent and his seed. Second Ezra. In your Apocrypha, Second Ezra, or Ezra, I'm going to speak it in our language. The word is Ezra. It's an Igbo word, a Negro, a priest. When we're still in Jerusalem, he wrote this book that they took out of the Bible. It's the same Ezra in your regular Bible. Here is Ezra, chapter 3, verse 1. Let's read it. Yeah.
I'll just read the one that you have.
Here we go. Second Ezra, chapter 3, verse 1. Let's read it here. Go ahead. So if you have your own, please open it up. We're going to be spending a little more time here now. Chapter 3, verse 1. Go ahead. Chapter 3 in this guy too.
Verse 1. And it reads, in the 30th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon.
After the what?
After the ruin of the city,
the destruction of Jerusalem. You're going to find out that because we could not keep the commandment, just like Adam couldn't keep the commandment, we will be destroyed as a nation. After the destruction of Babylon, what happened?
I was in Babylon and lay troubled upon my bed.
This is ancient Babylon. In modern day Iraq today, Ezra, the one that defends, the word Ezra means to defend, to protect, or help, our language. These are all our ancestors, brothers and sisters. Watch what is writing. He was in a slave in ancient Babylon, modern day Iraq, before we're going to go to our worldwide diaspora, the real slaves of the earth. What is he writing about? Read it.
I lay troubled upon my bed, and my thoughts came over my heart. For I saw the desolation of Zion.
I saw the what?
The desolation of Zion.
Just like the Most High judged the man, judged the woman, put the earth in peril, we are going to be given the law, and we will be desolate because we broke it. And that's what he's actually dealing with now. He was there witnessing us being destroyed, the first temple. Go ahead.
And the wealth of them that dwelt at Babylon.
And the people in Babylon, full of wealth. Just like us today, you come to America, you go to high district parks, you go to high affluent neighborhood, then you see our people in the ghettos. You see our people in Africa being looked down over. In Brazil, in Shanktowns in Jamaica, and Haiti. No one cares. We don't even care. But Ezra cared then. Read it.
For I saw the desolation of Zion and the wealth of them that dwelt at Babylon, and my spirit was sore moved, so that I begged to speak words full of fear to the Most High.
This is the high priest. What is he speaking?
And said, O Ahiah, who bearest rule, thou speakest at the beginning when thou didst plant the earth.
When thou did what?
Plant the earth.
Did what?
Plant the earth.
The earth was planted in the beginning. Think about that. Go ahead.
And that thyself alone and commandest the people, and givest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thy hands, and didst breathe into him the nostril, the breath of life, and he was made living before thee.
And he was made what?
Living before thee.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. We read that precept already. Go ahead.
And thou leadest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted, before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou givest commandment.
Thou givest what?
Commandment.
Thou givest what?
Commandment.
What was the commandment?
To love thy way.
So the Most High has his ways. That's the way of life. The way of truth and purity. To love thy ways, come on,
which he transgressed.
which he what?
He transgressed.
Go ahead.
And immediately thou appointest death in him.
That appointest what?
Death in him.
Who did that? The Most High, Ahaya, the Messiah, Christ. Go ahead.
And in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, kindreds out of number.
Go ahead.
And every people walked after their own will.
So starting from that time to the time of Babylon, people have been dealing with their own ways even before Abraham was born. But Moses has a holy bloodline in the earth. But the rest of the world has been disobedient to the holy ways. Go ahead.
And every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments.
And despised thy what?
Thy commandments.
The Chinese hate the commandments of the Most High. The Arabs hate the commandments of the Most High. The Caucasians, definitely, they're the leaders of the world to lead people to apostate, especially the powers controlling the world on their government. We're not speaking about regular people. We're speaking about their hierarchy that really controls them. So each individual must live and actually follow the power of the Holy Scriptures, our power, the God of the Igbos. The Persians hate the commandments. All the Gentile governments, the true Africans, the Egyptians and the Ethiopians, they hate the righteous ways. The Most High is going to set a people, a bloodline that is preserving to harvest at the end. The Hebrews, the Israelites, us. Come on.
Verse 9. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon them that dwellest in the world, and destroyest them. And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah,
Go ahead.
with his household, of whom came all righteous men. And it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first.
To be what?
More ungodly than the first.
Go ahead.
Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them.
That did choose what?
Choose thee a man from among them.
He's showing you how he's selecting a bloodline. Where did Eto will come from? The Savior, the sign that is set up from the very beginning, will rise up from. Who is this man? Read it.
Thou choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldst never forsake his seed.
That will what?
Never forsake his seed.
So what was the battle in Genesis chapter 3, verse 14 and 15, particularly in verse 15? It was the battle of bloodlines. There's a bloodline in this earth that the Most High is preserving to be harvested. There's also a lot of Gentiles that he also want to harvest equally. They're going to be under us, the nation of Israel. This is the conflict of time. He's been preserving the holy people, us. Read on.
Verse 16. And unto him thou givest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou givest Jacob and Esau.
Ichikakwa. Thou givest Ichikakwa and Jacob and also the two races that will determine the earth in this rat race. Go ahead.
As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee.
So he chose the Esau are the fathers of the Caucasians. And the word Esau or Osa or Esau will be the ones to actually advance technologically, scientifically, and they're going to come out red all over like a hairy garment. This is the inception of the Caucasian race in the earth. Their hierarchy will link in with the powers of darkness to set up the Illuminati that controls the earth, the Amalek, the Jewish Zionists controlling the earth today. They actually have their hands in our slavery. But us, we are falling because there's a conflict between us and them. The Negroes, the Latinos, so-called Native Americans, American natives, the so-called Indians that have been decimated by the European powers. This is the conflict of the earth that they don't want us to know. The true record of world antiquity. Read it.
As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau, And so Jacob became a great multitude,
And Jacob became a what?
a great
The
multitude.
12 tribes. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that when thou leadest his seed out of Egypt, thou broughtest them up to the Mount Sinai.
So we see we went into slavery. As always, became a nation out of slavery. Always going through slavery. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And bowing the heavens, thou didst set fast the earth, movest
Real quickly.
the whole world, and madest the depth to tremble, and tremblest the men of that age. And thy glory went through 4 gates of fire, and the earthquakes, and of the wind, and of cold, and that thou mightst give the law unto the seed of Jacob.
That I might give the what?
The law.
The what?
The law.
The righteous regal law to who?
Unto the seed of Jacob.
Of Jacob. This is the same law that was given to who? Adam. His precepts, his ways that he told Adam to love my ways. The same thing now he's giving it to the. Now you see the bloodline that he chose. Out of all the bloodlines of the earth. The seed, the genetics, us. Read it.
That thou mightst give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart, that thy law might bring forth fruit in them.
That I what?
Thy law might bring forth fruit in them.
So what does that tell you? It tells you that we are planted in this earth to be harvested, and the law is planted in us to prepare us for the harvest.
And he left evil planted also, just like you described.
Thank you, brother. And my brother just pointed out, he also allowed evil to be planted. So you always have the same choices that was left for Adam in the beginning is also left for all of us.
That's what Paul was talking about.
Exactly what Paul was talking about.
Man.
Go ahead.
Verse 21. For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed and was overcome, and so be all they that are born of him. Thus, infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people with the malignity of the roots, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still.
And the evil, what?
Abode still.
Go ahead.
So the time passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then didst thou raise thee up a servant called David.
You can raise thee up a what?
A servant called David.
Out of the nation of Israel. So you see how the Most High is making his farm. Planting mankind, his greatest plant in the earth that will be harvested. You and I. Read it. So here comes David. That's a Negro, the Igbo man, Dede or Dawood. Or Dode, the word Delede in Hebrew or Igbo means something that is soft. When you love with someone, it's a love. Obigine Dede means that your heart boils with love. No Delede. You have a soft part for someone. That's David's name or Dede. A figure of the Messiah, Meshiaka. These are all our ancestors, brothers and sisters. So he raised up Dede or Dawood. Dede. Go ahead.
Whom thou commandest to build a city unto thy name, and to offer incense and oblations unto thee therein. When this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city forsook thee, and in all things did even as Adam and all his generations has done.
So we do it like Adam, who broke the commandment, and all the generation after that has done. So we that are even chosen continue in the same path. Go ahead.
For they also had a wicked heart, and so thou givest the city over into the hands of thine enemies. Are their deeds then any better than inhabit Babylon?
Read that again.
Are their deeds any better than them that inhabit Babylon?
So he's comparing us that was in ancient Babylon suffering to actually, he's comparing us to the Babylonians. Because we were carried up by the Babylonians, and he's asking, are the Babylonians' actions, their righteousness better than the chosen people? That's what Ezra was perplexed. Seeing our sovereign, why does he ask this question? Read it.
Are their deeds then any better than inhabitants of Babylon?
Because he laid Jerusalem waste. That's why we're not in our land right now. Leading even to the temple going to be rebuilt and we're going to continue to sin. We are a sinful nation. Read it.
That they should therefore have the dominion over Zion?
See there? Are the Babylonians any better than us? Because they are all pagans. The ancient Babylonians deal with Nimrod. He was Babylonian. They deal with the fallen angels. They deal with the Anunnakis. They are the people that taught us the alternative science in the earth that America inherited through Greeks and Rome back to Egypt. So how can they be better than us? That's what he's asking. Go ahead.
For when I came thither and had seen impieties without number, then my soul saw many evildoers in this 30 years, so that my heart failed me. For I have seen how thou sufferest them sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and hast destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it.
So you see there, he preserved the enemies because he did not give them his laws. He gave us his laws. Go to the one, I think it's Amos, where he said, only thee have I known. He gave us his laws. He gave us his laws. We are the only nation that he knows. He has no business with the Gentile because they don't know his laws. Go to Amos chapter 3 and read verse 1. Amase, that's an Igbo, another Igbo writer. Yehuda, us.
Amos.
So Ezra is perplexed because he see the Gentiles just like you see here in America. You see them control the White House. They basically control Wall Street. They're controlling all the resources of the earth. They're controlling everything. They're behind murder, raped. We are given in their hands. The Bible said that we're given into their hands. But there's no judgment that comes upon them. There's no judgment that comes upon them. But when we do that, we find ourselves in jail, in prison, being shot. We've been scattered and going through slavery. Why? Read it.
Hear this word, Amos chapter 3, verse 1. Hear this word that Ahayah had spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying,
what does he say to us?
You only have I known out of all the families of the earth.
The Most High said what?
You only have I known out of all the families of the earth.
We are the only people that he knows of all the races and bloodline in the earth. And as a result of that,
therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
I will what?
I will punish you for all your iniquities.
That's why we have a worse, because we know better. He treats us as a son. He's so chosen people. That's why we're in our condition. So pick it up from where you left off now. What Ezra was saying, he's about what he saw in Babylon shocked him. Read it.
Verse 31. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Or is there any other people that knowest thee beside Israel?
And we know that because we know what is evil. We know that homosexuality is wrong. We know that racism, according to any standard that you want to qualify it, is wrong. We know that godlessness, idolatry is wrong. All these things are ingrained in our cultural fabrics. But the Gentiles, it's not. They have no clue. That's why he's saying, are they any better than us? So the barometer for us is high because the Most High barometer is very high, but he's going to be merciful to us. Read it.
Or is there any other people that knoweth thee beside Israel? Or what generation had so believed thy covenant?
Or what generation has what?
So believed thy covenant.
We believe it, but we don't keep it. That's the problem. Go ahead.
As Jacob.
Jacobe, the Negroes, the Latinos so-called, North American Indians. Read it.
And yet thy reward appeareth not, and that their labor had not fruits. For I have gone here and there through the heathen.
I've actually traveled around the heathen nations. That's what Ezra was saying.
And I see that they flow in wealth.
They flourish. In what?
In wealth.
Listen, brother, when you go to Europe, I've been to France, I've been to Great Britain, Ireland, Netherlands, you see the wealth of them in Europe. The Europeans took over Europe. You go to Middle East, you see the Saudis with billions. You go to Qatar, you see the magnificent construction. You go to China, look at what they're doing in China right now. China is the #1 economy in the world. They've overtaken America in economic competition. They're essentially creating a new form of capitalism. America is in deep debt that they can never repay right now. And America is collapsing, but China is right with him. They think they're going to intercept the world while America falls. But that will never happen because the Gentiles are all going to be falling down. Look at Japan. Look at all the nations. Look at Iran. Iraq. The leaders are the European power. America, controlled from out of America. Edom, the Caucasian, Amalek in particular. Look at Jerusalem. The fake Jews in Jerusalem. Look at the resources that they have. They're being supported $6 billion annually by American and European governments. But when you go to Africa, we are suffering, especially in the slave coast. The ones in Jamaica think they're learning the Western ways, but they know things are hard over there in Jamaica. In Kingston.
That's what Morrison said.
Yes. We're suffering. We're suffering.
Man.
Here in the ghetto in America, you see our children everywhere. We are still a nation scattered. That's what Ezra is saying. So who's speaking on behalf of our people and bringing forth this real truth to enlighten us for the harvest? None of our leaders are doing that. Read on.
I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon thy commandment.
And think not upon what?
Upon thy commandment.
And that's why they infiltrated Christianity, but they know they don't really believe it. Because they're not teaching the commandments. You have to teach the commandments of Christ and believe in his blood that he sacrificed for the nation of Israel and raise the people of Christ back up. But they're not doing that. They're oppressing us. Read it.
Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found, but in Israel.
But in what?
But in Israel.
You weigh our righteousness and weigh theirs in balance, and you find that we've been better than the Gentiles. He's right. We know what is right, but we just don't do it consistently. As a nation, we've been destroyed completely. Since King Solomon and David collapsed, we've been in a fast decline to where we are in total peril. And the earth with us in peril. Environmentally, economically, socially, by every means. Immorality has exploded from that darkness from the very beginning. Read on.
Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people had so kept thy commandment? Thou shalt find that Israel by name had kept thy precepts, but not the heathen.
But not the what?
But not the heathen.
But not the heathen. That's the case that Ezra was actually making a case to the angel of the Most High. Why can we not have a position, a take among the heathens? Are they that better than us? He did not understand that the Most High set up two types of people. And it has a time to harvest. Like we said, the good and the evil are all growing together. So go now to chapter 5 and pick it up from verse 14. We read 2nd Ezra chapter 5, right? Yes, verse 14.
Verse 14 says.
I'm sorry, verse 2nd Ezra chapter 5, verse 14 to 30. Read that.
Then I awake, and an extreme fearfulness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was come to talk with me,
because he was going through fasting and prayer, and the Most High sending his angel to answer all his questions. This is one of the greatest dialogue, almost like a soliloquy sometimes, of this intense dialogue between the angel and the high priest of the nation of Israel, Ezra. Read it.
So the angel that was come to talk with me held me, comforted me, and set me up upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass that Salathiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, Where hast thou been? And why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee?
Knowest thou not that what?
Israel is committed unto thee
He is the one that Israel is committed into, the high priest,
in the land of their captivity?
while we were serving slavery and bondage in ancient Babylon. Read it.
Up then and eat bread, and forsake us not as the sheep, as the shepherd that forsaketh his flock.
Go ahead.
In the hands of cruel wolves. Then said I unto him,
What verse?
verse 19.
Go ahead.
Then said I unto him, Go thy ways from me, and come not nigh me. And he heard what I said, and went from me. And so I fasted 7 days, mourning and weeping, like as Uriel the angel commanded me.
That's Ore Allah. That's an Igbo name. All the angels bear Igbo names. Ore Allah, which is Hebrew. The fire, the angel of fire. Ore, Okunerere. Ore Allah. Ore are the fire of the land, of the fire of the creator force. Read it.
And after 7 days, so it was that the thoughts of my heart were very grievous unto me again, and my soul recovered the spirit of understanding, and I began to talk with the Most High again.
Let's find out what he's saying. Read it.
And said, O Ahaya, thou bearest rule over every wood of the earth, and all the trees thereof, that thou hast chosen thee only one vine.
Of all the woods, the Most High is still choosing one vine, the farmer, come on.
And of all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit.
All the lands of the earth, the Most High has chosen him one pit to dig in, the farmer, come on.
And of all the flowers thereof, one lily.
All the flowers, he chose one lily.
And of all the depths of the sea, thou hast filled thee in one river.
All the depth of the sea, he is cultivated in one river.
And of all the builded cities, thou hast hallowed Zion unto thyself.
All the builded cities, he has hallowed what?
Zion.
Zion for himself. Our homeland. We are the children of Zion, brothers and sisters. We need to wake up for the harvest. Read it.
And of all the fowls that creeped, that created, thou hast named thee one dove. And of all the cattle that are made, thou hast provided thee one sheep.
Come on.
And among all the multitude of peoples, thou hast gotten thee one people. And unto this
all the multitude of all the races of the earth, thou have what?
Thou had gotten thee one people.
One what?
One people.
One what?
One people.
One people. Who are these people, and what happened to them?
And unto this people whom thou lovest, thou givest a law that is proved of all.
The law that is approved of all, our regal law that they're telling us in these churches, by the luminous churches, that we shouldn't keep the laws. But there's the same law that will lead us to life. Read it.
And now, O Ahaya, why hast thou given this one people over unto many, and upon the one root hast thou prepared others? And why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many?
How have thou scattered thy what?
Only one people among many.
Only one people among what?
Among many.
All the races. Because of our disobedience. We disobey consistently. We need to figure out how to pull together for the great harvest. Quashare. Read it.
And they which did gainsay thy promises and believe not thy covenants have trodden them down.
See, the Gentiles that didn't even believe have brought us low. The Babylonians, the Caucasians, the Arabs, the Chinese, all the Gentile nations have been partaking in the destruction of our people. He tells that in Psalms chapter 83, identify all the nations that have trodden us down. Read it.
If thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hand?
How come you did not punish them? Why did you have to allow the nations to destroy us? Why didn't you allow the nations? Why did you allow the nation to destroy us? Read it.
Now, when I had spoken these words,
What verse?
Verse 31.
That stop right there.
Okay.
So we have been destroyed as a nation. Why? He chose us as a farmer, select, Oke Chineke. We are his portion, his inheritance. And he allowed us to be scattered among the Gentiles. So let's look at why. Go to Isaiah chapter 5 now. Yache Yawa. Isaiah chapter 5. Why?
Chapter 5, verse 1.
Yes. Before you go to Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1, read Psalms 83 real quick to identify the nation that he used to destroy us. And then we're going to go to Isaiah real quick. Psalms 83 real quick. Let's read very quickly.
Psalms 83.
Verse 1. That's Telem 83. Verse 1.
Verse 1 says, Keep not thou silent, O Alahayim, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Alahayim, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
Thy what?
Thine enemies
Thy
make
what?
thine enemies.
Go ahead.
Make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
Because when David and kingdom begin to collapse, this nation begin to rise back up. Because he conquered all of them. They begin to make a tumult. And they that hate the truth under the powers of darkness, the serpent is using that image in Daniel dreamed of chapter 2. They're rising back up now. And we fell. Read it.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
There's a crafty counsel against us, the holy people. Come on.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Those that don't even know that the chosen people that we've been scattering, starting from the time of this Ezra leading to America, total slavery and desolation of our people. Read it.
They have said, Come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
What did they say?
Come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
Why?
That the name of Israel
That the name of Israel, Allah,
may be no more in remembrance.
so that we don't know who we are. That's the satanic ploy to destroy our people. Read it.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
It's a global consensus, a unanimous consensus to destroy the holy seed, the serpent controlling the earth to destroy the seed of the woman, like in Genesis chapter 3, verse 14 and 15. Read it.
They are confederate against thee.
A global conference. This is the United Nation against the holy people, because we don't even have a seat right there. Go ahead.
The tabernacles of Edom.
Who's the number one in line?
The tabernacles of Edom.
The Caucasians. And who's the next?
And the Ishmaelites.
The Arabs following them.
Of Moab.
The Moabites in Palestine.
And the Hagarenes.
The Hagarenes. They are also Ishmaelites, Arabs.
Gibal and Ammon.
Those are the Ammonite. Jordan is with them.
And Amalek.
And who?
And Amalek.
The Jewish Zionists in Jerusalem that controls the elite, the globalists. That's the Amalekites with the bloodline of Satan. That's a special sect of the Caucasians that control slavery.
The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre.
When you read this book called Jews Selling Black, this is actually called Jews Selling Blacks. Louis Farrakhan, he tells you, he gives you all the documentation of the receipts and the selling documents. These supposed to be fake Jews selling the blacks the real Jews. That should be the title of this book.
Yep.
It was the Amalekites that made money. Cohen family. They made money. Samuel Haynes, Jacob Cohen and sons. They own all the slave ships. And they're watching us closely because they understand that the harvesting, they have to watch the holy people because the harvest depends on us. When we're waking up, they have to monitor us effectively. That's what COINTELPRO is all about. That's what the CIA and the FBI is all about. Edgar Hoover identified there to suppress that Messiah that will come from our people for the time of harvest. So they're watching us. Read it.
Verse 7. Gibal and Ammon and Amalek.
And Amalek. Come on.
The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre.
The true Africans, Egyptians, Ethiopians that are actually in East Africa right now. Not in the slave coast of Africa where the Jews are still. The Hausa people in Nigeria are also part of the Africans too. Go ahead.
Ashur also is joining with them.
Assyria or Syria. Go ahead.
They have opened the children of Lot, Silo.
Think about that. Silo. Think about that. These are the people that we helped. The devil is using them to destroy us. Come on.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kishon, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb.
Make their powers, their elite like what?
Like Oreb.
Go ahead.
And like Zeb. Yea, all their princes as Zebah and Zalmunna. Who said?
What did they all say in unanimous consensus?
Let us take to ourselves the houses of Alahayim in possession.
Let's take Jerusalem, and took the chosen people and control them and divide them up under the global structure that we all exist today. We're being called Nigerians. We're being called Brazilians, South Americans, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans. They created all these countries. We are all under them. Amazing. It's a global plan. But how did we get in? We've been in peril leading to Christ's coming to be harvested. How did we get in peril? Go now to Isaiah chapter 5 now. The Most High planted us for glory. He planted us for rulership. Our disobedience. Isaiah, or Yache Yawa, chapter what?
Isaiah chapter 5 verse 1.
Read it.
Now I will sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard.
The prophet Yache Yawa is singing a song to the beloved, the Most High and his son, Christ, touching his what?
His vineyard.
Concerning his vineyard. Let's find out what this vineyard is all about. Like we say, this Israel is the next chosen vineyard. Us, out of all the field, Erezi, the Most High has a chosen field. Read it.
My well-beloved had a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it, and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes.
And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, righteousness, and productivity. And what happened?
And it brought forth wild grapes.
And it brought forth what?
Wild grapes.
After he did all this work. He did everything. Go ahead.
And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Who is he speaking to?
O inhabitants of Jerusalem.
He's speaking to Yerushalayim, us. What is he saying to us?
And men of Judah.
And men of who?
Men of Judah.
The Negroes, us the Igbos, the so-called African Americans. Because we were the leaders of these people, the 12 tribes. What is he saying to us?
Judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done to it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, why did it bring forth wild grapes?
The Most High took down the nations for us. He took down the Gentile governments and set us up in the greatest real estate that connects the heavenly realms, where he's going to be the Most High to give us ononelu. That's the Hebrew word for Most High. We've seen that. To give us direct instruction, his laws to rule the earth. That's what Israel means. Allah. But we fell. When he looked that we should produce righteousness and the fruits of the Spirit and obedience, we brought wild grapes. That disappointed him. After he did everything, we saw in Genesis, the whole world was created for us. That's what Ezra was saying. He said the whole world was created for us. The whole universe. He loves us, brothers and sisters. We must be obedient. Read it.
Now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard.
What is he going to do to his vineyard?
I will take away the hedges thereof.
The protections.
And it shall be eaten up, and break down the walls thereof.
The walls of protection, and will be being exploited. Come on.
And it shall be trodden down.
And we're going to be brought low from our high place in Zion. Come on.
And I will lay it waste.
I will what?
I will lay it waste.
The Most High took away the power and allowed the Gentiles to come in and lay us waste.
It shall not be pruned.
Nor what?
Nor dig.
Nor dig. Or that's weeding process that you do in a farm. So you can ensure that the real wheat is not taken over by the tear. It shall not be pruned, nor what?
Nor digged.
Nor digged. Why?
But there shall come up briars and thorns.
Wickedness and evil. Go ahead.
I will also command the clouds that they rain not, nor upon it.
That's why we are not fertilized. We are not being nourished with the truth, with the word. We're not being nourished with the mysteries of the Most High. it shall not be pruned nor digged. I will command the cloud
Not to rain.
not to rain no more upon it. Now you see why we're suffering, where we're in peril leading to the harvesting. It's a bad farm that is going to be harvested. It will be burned, but only the righteous that will be harvested out of this farm. Read it.
For the vineyard of Ahiah of hosts is the house of Israel.
The prophet said what?
For the vineyard
The
of
vineyard of Ahiah, the Most High power of hosts, is what?
is the house of Israel.
The 12 tribe of Israel, come on.
And the men of Judah.
And the men of who?
The men of Judah.
The Negroes, the Igbos, the so-called African Americans are what?
Is his pleasant
The
plan.
pleasant plants. The people that he entrusted in his hands to control the universe. So when you see these wicked Amalekites that control capitalism, that has enslaved, they know who they have to put their foot on their neck, on us. Ahiah of hosts. Us. We should be trying to figure out what we need to do to set our rulership in order, in obedience, getting our families together, brothers and sisters together, keeping the commandments, waking up again, our ancients, putting them back in their position again to rectify what is going to happen. But it's hard because it's so hard to get us together and prepare them for the harvest, because everyone gone off in their own ways. We're thinking it in a Gentile mindset. For the vineyard of Ahiah of hosts is who?
The house of Israel.
Is the house of Israel. So he's chosen a vineyard out of the whole earth, Erezi. And the vineyard is the 12 tribe of Israel. And out of the 12 tribe of Israel, read on.
The men of Judah.
The Negroes, the Igbos are what?
Is his pleasant plants.
The pleasant plants. Come on.
And he looked for judgment, but behold, oppression.
He looked for judgment and beheld oppression.
For righteousness, but behold, a cry.
And behold, a what?
A cry.
You go to Africa right now, our people are still dealing with voodoo and witchcraft. Some are running in the churches. The same thing that we did in Jerusalem, we're still doing in Africa right now. You have people trying to accelerate the social ladder. Your own very family member will put magic spell on you. Because that's why listen, man, we gotta clean ourselves up as a nation. What's happening to us is happening as a reason. You come in the ghettos here, they have brought gangs, guns, alcohol, homosexuality, and we shooting each other now in the hood over sneakers. It is hard to get these holy people to understand what has happened to them. We are that vineyard that is being harvested first, and then the rest of the world will follow as we go. We got to get it together, brothers. Go to 2 Ezra chapter 11 verse 1. Chapter 11, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 2 Ezra, back in the Apocrypha. So we saw the Most High has created a whole worldly farm, and inside there he creates the vineyard out of the farm and allowing the wheat and the tear to grow. Read it.
2 Ezra chapter 11 verse 1. Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle.
No. This is 2 Ezra, right? 2 Ezra's. Second Ezra chapter 11 verse 1 to 7. This is Second Ezra's. Okay, chapter. Second Ezra's chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
I mean chapter
11.
11, right?
XI.
I'm missing a precept here. I don't know if I'm trying to show. 1 second. Okay, let's pick it up from Lamentations, chapter 1, verse 1 to 10, real quick. The book of Lamentation, chapter 1, verse 1 to 10.
Lamentations chapter 1. How doth the city sit solitary that was full of people?
How does the city sit so solitary that was what?
Full of people.
We were full of people. The 12 tribes of Israel, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans, Asher. You have God. You have the Negroes. All of them were all there. We were the greatest nation in the earth at once. And the Most High started a process to decapitate us. Listen to the lamenter saying,
how is she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations.
She that was what?
Great among the nations. And princes among the provinces. How is she become tributary?
How is she become a what?
Tributary.
Like we're paying taxes to America now. We are actually dependent on other nations. We used to be a full functioning nation, had our law, had our own land, had all the resources. How did we become dependent? Tributary. Come on.
She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she had none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her.
All the nations that we used to run to have exploited us, rejecting the laws of the Most High. None can help us now. Read it.
They are become her enemies. Judah is gone into captivity.
Judah, Yehuda, is what?
He's gone into captivity.
Slavery. Slavery. Yehuda went into captivity and we're still here. Back then, we continue to go into captivity. If you're looking for Jews, they're the enslaved. This is sad, man. It's a sad, sad lamentation. This is a Negro woman. That's exactly how women of Zion cry. So-called black woman. Read it.
Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelt among the heathen.
She dwells where?
Among the heathen.
We are scattered now, serving hard bondage among the heathens. Come on.
She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feasts.
No one, our feast days are all over. When we were taken down, that's when our captivity began to go. When we began to go into Babylonian captivity, no, that's why you don't keep Sabbaths no more. You thinking you're a Christian now. That's why all our feast days, our new moon, our holy days, everything was put down because we had to go to slavery for disobedience. Tell that to these churches of the earth today. Read it.
All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh.
That's the gate of protection. That's before Ezra was saying everything, he's saying this is exactly what happened before then. And you're going to see us piling into Africa. The influx of our people into Africa. Read it.
Her priests sigh. Her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries are the chief. Her enemies prosper.
Her enemies what?
Prosper.
Come on.
And the Most High has
upon us for breaking the commandments. Disobedient people. Come on.
Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy. And from the daughter of Zion, all her beauty is departed. Her princes are become like harts that find no pasture, and they are gone without strength before the pursuer. Jerusalem remembered in the days of her affliction and of her miseries all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old.
See there? We used to be the most powerful nation in the earth. We don't even think about that no more. The royal priesthood, the goals of Solomon, the military, millions of military. We had everything. The priesthood. Now we had a fake people in Jerusalem today claiming to be us. The fake Jews that are invented. Invention of Jewish people. The so-called Jewish Zionists today in the earth. They have the audacity to claim to be us because they understand these are sorcerers. The elite are sorcerers, Amalekites. They took over Jerusalem. Come on.
When her people fell into the hands of the enemy, and none did help her, the adversaries saw her and did mock at her Sabbaths. Jerusalem had grievously sinned, therefore she is removed. All that honored her despise her.
You see that? Jerusalem has grievously sinned, and what happened to us?
Therefore she is removed.
We were removed out of our holy land because of sin, waiting for the time of final threshing. But something will have to happen to create opportunity for some of us to be saved. We'll look at that. Read it.
All that honored her despised her, because they have seen her nakedness.
Because they have seen us being exposed. We've been exposed. The nations know who we are. The Africans, they know who we are. The Arabs know, but they won't tell us. Even our leaders, some of them know who we are. They won't even tell us. They may not even understand what it really means in the larger scheme of things, because they think this is an old book, just dust it and put it down. Read it.
Yes, she sigheth and turneth backward. Her filthiness is in her skirts.
Her what?
Her filthiness is in her skirts.
We're still carrying that. That's exactly what I told you, that we're still dealing with the same voodoo and the same paganism and Satanism that we were mixing with true Hebrewism back in Jerusalem. The North American Indians were doing it when they were here in North Central South America. The Negroes, the Jews in Haiti, in Benin right now. They're doing it right now. In Jamaica, or even in slave coast of Africa, in Ghana, in Yoruba land, in Igbo land, they're still dealing with the same stuff. Because our sin follows us. That put us in our condition. That's why the truth needs to be brought to them to prepare them for the harvest. Read it.
Her filthiness is in her skirts. She remembered not her last end. Therefore, she came down wonderfully. She had no comforter. O Ahaya, behold my affliction, for the enemy had magnified himself.
Stop right there. The enemy, the globalists, are looking down on us. They don't even think that we can come back to dominance and come back for rulership again. But only a remnant of our people that will see the light, that will see the truth, will rise up. Amazing. He's going to have mercy on us. Go to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. And it reads.
Yeah. What happened when the heat began to pile up in Jerusalem? We begin to run into Africa, and this started our global diaspora. This is how we got into Africa. Read it.
Woe to the rebellious children.
Woe to the what?
Rebellious children.
Destruction and shame to those people that are chosen to be the perfect vineyard.
Says Ahaya.
Go ahead.
That take counsel, but not of me.
They take counsel, not from the Spirit of the Most High. They listen to the prognosticators. They're not eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, like Adam and Chua. They're taking counsel not from his commandments. Come on.
And that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
Come on.
That they may add sin to sin.
They're not dealing with my Holy Spirit. They're not being protected under my Holy Spirit, so that they can live in disobedience, which is transgression of the law, sin. Come on.
That walk down to go to Egypt.
And they walk down to go to where?
To Egypt.
To where?
Egypt.
Where is Egypt? Africa. It's a book here called Stephen Jacobs, The Hebrew Heritage of Black Africa. We are in Africa, brothers and sisters. Amen. The real Jews. Started from the time, because the heat was too much in Jerusalem, we begin to pile into Africa. We walk straight from Jerusalem. Here is Jerusalem, the little dot right there, through Suez Canal, right there, come down to Sudan, right there, around Ethiopia, and beyond Ethiopia. You cross Chad Republic, boom, you get into Nigeria where the Jews are. Across this region, we are the slave coast of Africa.
Now unmuted.
From Jerusalem, from kings to slaves, suffering. history shows what the Bible is saying. It says here, Stephen Jacobs, a European fake Jew and a historian, confirms the presence of Hebrew Israelites and Jews throughout the length and breadth of Africa, motherland, centuries ago and now. Documented with statistics and real figures and numbers. We couldn't stay in Jerusalem, and we begin to migrate down into Africa. That walked down to do what?
That walked down to go into Egypt.
That walked down to go into Africa. Because before you leave Jerusalem, the next place you're going to go into is where? Egypt. Down to Sudan, across Chad, and boom, you're on the slave coast of Africa before slavery will explode. Read it.
And have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
We trusted in the Africa because there were once a powerful civilization, the ancient Egyptians, black like us, but nonetheless not us. Go ahead.
And to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
To trust in the what?
In the shadow of Egypt.
Because we know that there's a Pharaoh land over there. Where was the Pharaoh land? The Pharaoh land was right here. It is slave coast, sub-Saharan Africa. We knew that our people was there and we continue to go in there. That's our ancestors continue to get in there. To trust in protection, because the more they chased us, geographically, it's impossible for us to go any other way. The Europeans came from this direction, the Greeks and Rome. The only place we can run into is Africa. The Babylonians came from here. Babylon is right here. Only place we can run into is Africa. The Assyrians came from here. We could only go here or there. Geographically, it's impossible to go elsewhere. So you see the influx, or the enemies came from this direction. They came from south and southeast, and we fled. Where they came from northeast, and we fled south and west. Geographically, it's impossible to have gone any other place. And we went into Africa. The North American Indians migrated already to America and became the so-called American natives. And now we're all being ruled by the global empires. And they know this information. Read it.
Verse 3. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
And we are confused today. Go ahead.
For his princes were at Zoan, and his ambassadors came to Hanes. They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor be an help, nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach. The burden of the beasts of the south into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come up the young and old lion, the viper, the fairy flying serpent. They will carry their riches upon the shoulders of young asses.
And we were carrying our riches on shoulders of young donkeys running straight into Africa because we couldn't stay in Jerusalem. When something happened to Jerusalem, boom, we're in Africa. It's like a backdoor way straight into for escape. Go ahead.
And their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them.
To a people that cannot help us. Africa has not helped us. He protected us as a middle passage, but look at us over there. You have United Nations over there. You have NATO over there. Obama is visiting over there, setting them up for the final destruction. But you're going to see that's the place that the righteous will rise. After Babylon is destroyed. We're going to look at that, where the harvest will explode. Let's read it.
For the Egyptians shall help in vain.
The Egyptians can never help us. That goes with Egyptology and their doctrine. Go ahead.
And to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Now go, write it before them in a table.
Write it before these people. The Most High telling the prophet to go write it to the holy people, the Israelites, the disobedient people, in a table.
And note it in a book.
Put it in a book. What does he want him to, the prophet, to write down?
That it may be for the time to come, forever and ever.
A future threshing, a future time appointed. What does he want him to write?
That this is a rebellious people.
Israelites, us, the Negroes, the Mexicans, and the North American Indians are a what?
A rebellious people.
A rebellious people.
Lying children, children that will not hear the law of Ahiah,
The children that will not what?
hear the law of Ahiah,
Because we hate the law. We have to come back to the law to be harvested. Because that's exactly what put us in our condition. Read it.
which said to the seers, see not.
I don't want to see the prophecy of destruction coming worldwide. This teaching is so hard. You can turn down on that prophecy. Come on.
And to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things.
Don't teach us the real truth. Don't tell us what's coming. Go ahead.
Speak unto us smooth things.
Tell us what we want to hear.
Prophesy deceits.
Lie to us, please.
Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us.
We don't want to hear the truth. And that's why we hunched up in churches. Don't want to understand how we became dirty and polluted and need to repent and come back to the holy commandment. But we're looking for Jesus in the European churches. They've lied to you. You don't even think that you're the holy people that needs to see your history, what has been done to you, and your essence in this earth as the vine, the holy seed. Go ahead.
Wherefore, thus says the Holy One of Israel,
What is he saying?
because ye despise this word, and trust in the oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon,
And you don't want to repent.
therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall.
As a crack in a house, ready to what?
Ready to fall.
Is about to go down before the harvest. Go ahead.
Swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh.
This is the collapse of the system.
Whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant.
It's going to be sudden, because then our people are going to be catch sleeping. A lot of our people are not prepared for what's coming, for the harvest. Read it.
And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's veil that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a shed to take fire for the heart, or to take water without out of the pit. For thus says the Most High Power of Israel.
What verse?
Verse 15.
Go ahead.
For thus says Ahiah Alahayim, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall ye be saved.
How can we be saved?
In returning and rest shall ye be saved.
Returning to what? The commandment. The same law that we fell from. Now we have to believe in our Savior, the Messiah. We have to return. For the harvest is coming, brothers and sisters. Read it.
In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. And ye would not.
But what?
But ye will not.
But our people will what?
Ye will not.
They will not return. That's why only a remnant can be saved. For the threshing, the harvest, kwacha, onabe kwacha. He's coming to thresh. Kwachashi. That is coming. Come on.
But ye said, no, for we will flee upon horses.
We fled into Africa.
Therefore shall ye flee. And we will ride upon the swifts. Therefore shall they that pursue you be swift.
So you see, the curse is following us into Africa. Because the Bible, what was pursuing us? The curse. Written in Deuteronomy 28, he says that this curse shall pursue you and shall overtake thee till thou be destroyed. We've been destroyed. We must repent. Come on.
1,000 shall flee at the rebuke of one. At the rebuke of 5 shall ye flee, till ye be left as a beacon upon the top of a mountain, and as an ensign on an hill.
And that's the sign for the world. And we are divided and conquered as a nation. The opposite of the blessing that he gave us, that we're going to be able to chase our enemies, one of us. But now look at us being chased. But they got chemtrails and the modern technologies. They got cops pulling us everywhere. But in spite of all this, the Most High still loves us. What did he say in the next verse?
Verse 18. And therefore will Ahiah wait, that he may be gracious unto you.
That he may be what?
Gracious unto you.
He was waiting for those ones that are there to receive the free gift of salvation. The free gift of coming back to him. to believe and repent and come back to the commandment and know who we are. He waits for us. Come on.
And therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you.
He wants to have what?
Mercy upon you.
He wants to have mercy upon us. Why?
For Ahiah is a Alahayim of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him.
Bless the Most High. We are waiting for him to come and gather us. So how did he do that? By sending his son, our own brother, Eto, and our king. Let's look at that. Now go to the book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 15. But before you go to 1 Corinthians, go to Hebrews chapter 2 verse 9. Hebrews, the book of the Hebrews, our book. Before the harvest comes, he did something for us. By sending his son, read Hebrews.
Chapter 2 verse 9, Hebrews chapter 2 verse 9, and it says, But we see Yahshua, who was made a little lower than the angels, for the suffering of death.
For the what?
For the suffering of death.
He suffered for us to die, because for you to live, you must first die.
Crowned with glory of...
Because the death we was all subjected to death. It tells that in Romans chapter 8, the whole creation was subjected to decay, entropy, to death. Not by its own choice, but by the will of him that subjected it in hope. But now we see the Messiah, our own brother, the same Eto that he used to plant everything. Hebrews chapter what?
Chapter 2 verse 9.
Go ahead.
But now we see Yahshua, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of Allahayim, should taste death for every man.
Should taste death for what?
For every man.
Every Adam, before they're going to be harvested. So we're telling the Gentiles now to even come and believe in the Savior of the Hebrews, the Hebrews, the power of us, the Israelites. We're calling our people and calling the Gentiles to believe too. Go ahead.
For it became him for whom all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory.
Read that again. For it behooved, or it was necessary, that him, where all things, Eto, he is the beginning and the end. It was necessary that he come and die. He had to be the one to come and die to prepare for the great harvest. Read it.
For it became him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory.
Go ahead.
To make the captain of their salvation perfect through suffering.
Through what?
Through suffering.
He had to suffer. So do we, before we be glorified and then harvested for glorification. Go ahead.
For both he that sanctifieth and they who are sanctified are of all one.
He's our brother. We are made one with him because he came through our bloodline. We just need to get his spirit. Come on.
For which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying,
he is not ashamed to call us his what?
Brethren.
That's why we call him our brother and our king, brothers and sisters. Because he came through our gene. Same thing. His image is what we are, the Eto. Come on.
Saying, I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the church will I sing praise unto thee. And again, I will put my trust in him. And again, behold, I and the children which Allahayim had given me. For as much as then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood.
As much as the children, us the Israelites, the mankind, Adam, are partakers of blood and flesh. Go ahead.
He also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death.
That through what?
Through death.
That through death. Come on.
He might destroy him that had the power of death.
Which is Satan that took him from the beginning. He might destroy him that has the power of death.
That is the devil.
And that is who?
The devil.
Nakoshi, from that very beginning that we read when the farm was planted. Go ahead.
And deliver them who through fear of death were all their life subject to the bondage.
We are subject to what?
Bondage.
The Israel. We are the ones in bondage. And the world that want to believe, the whole world is in peril. The vineyard is in peril. The field is in peril. To deliver them that are in bondage. Amazing. Amazing. Go to Colossians chapter 1 verse 18. So that's the mercy, the grace of Ahaya Alahayim through Eto. Colossians, we're rounding up
Colossians chapter 1 verse 18.
to 23.
And it reads, and he is the head of the body.
Eto is the what?
The head of the body.
The Mashiach is the what?
The head of the body.
What is the body?
The church.
The church is Israel. Israel. She tells you that in Acts of the Apostles chapter 13 is everywhere in the Bible. The Gentiles are grafted into the church. Come on.
Who is the beginning?
Christ is the what?
Is the beginning.
He is the Ah. And what else?
He is the beginning.
He is the Ah and the To. Ato or Eto. He's the beginning and the end of creation. So it behooved him to have to come and die to deliver Israel and everyone else that will believe in him. The whole world. We are the kings under him to rule Israel, to rule the rest of the world that will believe in our Savior. Read it.
The firstborn from the dead.
He's the firstborn from the what?
From the dead.
He had to die first and resurrect and open a way for us now to keep his commandment through his Holy Spirit. The first one, the first Adam that died and rose, how?
That in all things,
In some things,
in all things,
in all things,
he
go ahead.
might have the preeminence.
He's the preeminent one. Eto, from the very beginning, the whole world was created for him. Read it.
For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell.
It pleased the Father that in him the fullness of all the Godheads, everything dwelt in the Son. The Father allowed it that way. Go ahead.
And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself.
To reconcile what?
All things unto himself.
Christ is reconciling. You're going to see he's the harvester. All things unto himself, which is going to turn over back to the Father. Go ahead.
By him I say, whether they be things in the earth,
Whether there be things in the earth
or things in heaven,
or things in heaven,
and you that were sometimes alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now had he reconciled.
now he's reconciling us, brothers and sisters. He's reconciling the whole world to be harvested. Be counted in the harvest. Be counted in the bonds of the Mashiach Eto. He's reconciling creation, plant life, everything that we saw in Genesis. He's reconciling everything now. He's bringing judgment before the final threshing. Read it.
In the body of his flesh, through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight.
Come on.
If ye continue in the faith.
If you what?
If ye continue in faith.
If you what?
If ye continue in faith.
In this truth. Go ahead.
Grounded and settled.
Grounded and fixed. Don't be pulled from false doctrines. And settled and fixed. Come on.
And be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under the heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister.
I'm made a minister. And we are all the ministers of the same gospel today. The Jews declaring the mysteries, the history of the gospel of Eto, the Mashiach. We are preparing for a harvest, brothers and sisters. Christ has reconciled, paid the price. He's reconciling everything. He's still doing it.
Wow.
He's telling the Israelite now, these are the Israelite in the church of Colossians, the Israelite in the church of the book of the Hebrews. He's telling us to get it together. Get it together. Amazing. Precept that with 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 22 to 28.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22. For as in Adam all die,
As in Adam, the first man, all what?
all die,
Come on.
even so in the Messiah
Even so in the Mashiach, come on.
shall all be made alive.
Living. That's that life, that the image. Eto. He tells you that the Eto is also the Chi. He has life. This eto is etuchi. It has the chi, which we saw right here. Etuchi, which is the sign of life. That's why this life source has to come back to reconcile all things back to the Father. It was a plan for when this is the mark. This is the sign when something goes wrong in creation, the Most High will use it to correct all things. It's a mystery. Read that again, please.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22. For as in Adam all die,
we were subjected to death,
even so in the Mashiach shall all be made alive.
The life-giving spirit. Come on.
But every man in his own order.
What is the order?
Christ, the Mashiach, the first fruit.
The Mashiach is the what?
The first fruit.
That will be harvested. We've seen that many times. Come on.
Afterward, they that are the Mashiach.
Many brethren that is bringing unto glory. Israel at his what?
At his coming.
The second coming. And the Gentiles that will believe as well. And he's going to reward everyone according to the nation of Israel have a great reward in the kingdom. Because the whole world was meant for us. The Gentiles that will believe, that will reject all their gods, will benefit. Will be harvested. Come on.
Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to Elohim.
Christ, after he's reconciled everything with what?
Deliver the kingdom to Elohim.
Rulership back to the Father.
Even the Father. When he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power.
He has put down every rulership, every government, every authority and power. He subdued everything. Come on.
For he must reign till he had put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is what?
Is death.
We have to travail over death. Because death was made subjected to us. We said it, Most I say he appointed death to us in the large form, Erasi, when we broke it. Just like the nation of Israel, we've been in peril for breaking the commandments and we're dying as a nation. And the Gentiles are having privileges over us. So now he's telling our people to wake up and prepare. Come on.
For he had put all things under his feet, but when he said all things are put under his feet, it is manifest that he is exempted, which did put all things under him.
Talking about the Mosai, because Christ is not under the Mosai. The Mosai and Ononelu is over the Mashiach. He's the head of the Mashiach, the Eto. Come on.
And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subjected unto him.
The Most High Son will be what? Subjected to the Father. Letting you know that Christ is the plan of salvation. He's the key. He's the turnkey. He's the emblem. He's the solution. He's the sign. Atoba. Etu Chineke. Come on.
He be subject unto him that put all things under him.
Stop right there. So let's go now to Hebrews. Back to Hebrews chapter 10 and read verse 1 to 3. Because he went back into the heavenly realm. When he died, the Father is using him to do all the work, to do the harvesting. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1.
Chapter 10.
Hebrews chapter 1. Yeah, we're going to go to 10 afterwards. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 1 and then read verse 1 to 3. Okay. The book of the Hebrews.
Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1.
The book of the Negroes. Let's read it.
Elohim, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets.
By the what?
By the prophets.
Go ahead.
Had in these last days spoken unto us by his own Son.
By his own what?
By his own Son.
Christ is now speaking in these last days. Come on.
Whom he had appointed heirs of all things, by whom also he also made the world.
By Christ he what?
Also made the world.
Now you see that?
The two worlds.
Eto. He made the worlds of the Jews and the Gentiles. He made the worlds, heaven and earth. Many different worlds. Come on.
Whom being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person.
Of his personhood. Christ is the image of the Father. Come on.
And upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high.
When Christ purged our sins, what did he do?
He sat down at the right hand of the majesty on high.
He sat down on the right hand of glory. On high. Go to verse 10 now.
Okay.
Chapter 10 now of the same book, Hebrews.
Hebrews chapter 10,
Verse 12 to 14.
from verse 12, and it reads, But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever,
He offered sacrifice for who?
for sins forever.
For the nation of Israel. For us. First to the Jews and then to the Gentiles. He offered one sin forever. Come on.
Sat down on the right hand of Elohim.
He's in the right hand. So whenever I hear the word the right hand, he's referring to the Messiah. He's one that sits on the right hand of glory. He sat down on the right hand of the Father. Come on.
From henceforth, expecting till his enemies be made his footstool.
He's expecting for the Father to release him to deal with the enemies. Because first he came to be, go to Luke real quick. The book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 68, real quick. He's coming to deal with the enemies of Israel. Luke, chapter 1, verse 68, quick precept.
Luke chapter 1, verse 68.
Yes.
Blessed be Ahaya Elohim of Israel, for he had visited and redeemed his people,
When he sent that seed, the sign, the eto, visited and redeemed his people. Come on.
and had raised up an horn of salvation for us,
Christ is the horn of salvation for who?
for us in the house of his servant David,
The servant David, as he promised. Come on.
as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began.
All the prophets has been speaking about the sign from the beginning of the world. And what is he going to do?
That we should be saved from our enemies.
So he's coming to deal with the enemies of Israel and deal with the enemies of the Most High. So the enemies of the Creator is our enemies.
That's right.
The powers and the ruling class of the earth. The European power, the American government, all the governments of this earth under the luminous power that have been oppressing us, he's coming to deal with them. That's why you see the earth in its condition. And things will accelerate even worse. That we should be saved from our enemies, come on,
And from the hand of all that hate us,
go ahead,
to perform the mercy promised unto our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham,
come on,
that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness, righteousness, before him all the days of our lives.
So they know that we're going to be priests and kings when this all is done away. So you think that the powers controlling this earth under Satan wants to see us do this? No. They load this. So back to what you were reading. So we read that in Hebrew. Christ is waiting for this to judge the enemies.
Hebrews chapter 10.
Yeah, Hebrews chapter 10, right?
Yeah, verse 12.
Verse 12.
Verse 18 actually.
No, verse 12. That was 12.
Okay. Yep. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sin forever, sat down on the right hand of Elohim from henceforth, expecting till his enemies be made his footstool.
Expecting the enemies of Israel, the enemies of people that hate the laws of Israel, to be what?
To be made his footstool.
Go ahead.
For by one offering he had perfected forever them that are sanctified, whereof the Holy Spirit also is a witness to us. For after that he had said before.
See there? That was verse 14, right? I wanted to stop in verse 14.
All right.
Trying to round up down. Genesis. So let's look at the harvesting now. We're almost done. The harvesting is waiting to start. That's why Christ is waiting to be unleashed. He's waiting to be released to start the harvesting process. Kwachashia is going to cut the earth into pieces. Let's go to Genesis chapter 49 verse 10.
Genesis chapter 49 verse 10, and it reads,
And 11.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come.
Until who?
Shiloh come.
Christ is, when you go to the Hebrew word, that word Shiloh is actually Shalom, which is the peaceful one, the one that completes everything. Rulership will always be with the Negroes, with the Igbos. They know that. The so-called African Americans. Until Christ comes, and what will happen?
And unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Unto the Messiah shall the what?
The gathering
the
of the
what?
people. The gathering.
The gathering is actually the same word as harvesting. In fact, let's look at that word gathering real quick.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 10.
Genesis 49, right?
Verse 10.
Verse 10. Unto him shall the what?
The gathering of the people be.
Listen to the word for gathering. This is profound. Unto him shall the gathering of the people be. I'm going to look at it, break it down real quickly in the Hebrew so you can see what it means. Unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Here is the word. You have this is the word, the yod for gathering. Then you have the kofu, gives you the cool sound. And then you have the het. And then finally, and then you also have the het, or hair, if you will. This is amazing. This is how you know that we're the Jews. Huh? This is how you know that we're the Jews. The word is actually, this is Y, the yod, and then this is the kwa, or then it can be the kuf. And then you have the H, A-W. There's a double ha right there. And when you transliterate, it gives you ya. They want to put the I right there, but it's actually ya. This is how they put it there in the Strong's Concordance. My brother is laughing because he already knows what it means. The word is Yakwewe. Yakwewe. Amazing. This is so profound. You know why this is profound? Because the tribe of Judah, we don't play with this word. This is when the tribe of Yehuda, the root word, the word means obedience. But listen to where it comes from. Yakwewe. It comes from 3348. Yeah, there you go. 3348. 3348. The word is kwe. This is the way it comes from. Right here. This is the kuf is still there. And then you have the h. This word right here is actually Yahweh. 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 Amazing. And it, and it means to obey. In fact, if you tell something, if you're trying to tell something in Hebrew, to do something and say, no, equalum. Equalum means I don't agree. Yes. I'm coming to that, yes. Yeah, my mother just said, when we get together as the Jews, if you want to do something together, we say, Igbo Kwen.
Yeah.
Everybody say what?
Yeah.
That means we're binding together in agreement to obey. Look at that. That's what the tribe of Yehuda in the slave coast of Africa today still says. We say the Hebrews agree or to obey or to bind. The word is so profound. When you break down this word, it actually means to bind yourself together, like when you're roping in a kwekotoodo, to tie together. Amazing. It means to obey, to be obedient. You see that? It's everywhere in the Bible, by the way. And Christ is coming to thresh And that's when all the whole world will obey him. But before the threshing, no one will be obeying it. We cannot be brought together. He's going to gather or harvest. He's coming to judge before he actually. That's why it's difficult to wake our people up today.
You're not going to get this in English, man.
You're not going to get this in English. You're not going to understand this in English. Only in our language.
It's crazy.
Yahweh. It means to bind, to agree. So when Christ comes, he's the one that's going to make us to agree. And then when we say like the Jews, we say, Ibo Kwen or Itriala Kwen. And everybody will say, yeah. Now we're going to be believing the truth and operating as one. That word is like when you take a rope and you tie everything and it's one. And Christ is the one that's coming to bind us and make us to agree. But now we are divided. We are divided as a nation. And that's why you're telling our brothers and sisters, you got to keep the commandments. You got to do this. There's a harvest coming. We're being prepared for harvest. And only the obedient people will make it. They don't want to hear that. They say, I'm a Christian. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm a this, I'm a that. I don't want to believe the truth. I'm westernized. But we're still the people nonetheless. So here we go. Unto him shall the what?
Unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Go ahead.
Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass colt unto the choice vine.
Come on.
He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
And his clothes in the what?
Blood of grapes.
Because he's coming for war. He's coming to fight. Whose blood is he coming to? Isaiah chapter 63 real quick. Let's see who's coming to fight. Because he's the one that's going to be for us. He's going to make us to be able to agree together. Now we don't agree. We're so divided and destroyed as a nation. Isaiah chapter 63 verse 1. Whose blood does he have on over his garment? Let's read it.
Isaiah chapter 63 verse 1. And he reads, Who is this that cometh from Edom?
Who is this that what?
Cometh from Edom.
Cometh from Edom. The European powers that are controlling the earth, the elite, the Amalekite. This is a vision of the resurrected Christ coming to take down the earth. Because he's waiting to be unleashed. Read it.
With dyed garments from Bozrah.
From where?
From Bozrah.
The capital city of the European power, when they were in Jerusalem, when they were in Middle East, Bozrah.
This that is glorious in his apparels, travailing in the greatness of his strength. Oh, traveling with his greatness of his strength.
Traveling in the greatness of his what?
His strength.
What you're seeing is Christ after he has destroyed the European powers that are controlling this earth under Satan. Not the ones that are obedient to him, but the wicked that are controlling the earth under them. That's why they don't want this truth to come out. Because this is the image, the perfect man made. The image coming to fight against them. This is the alien that they're telling you in Hollywood. Come on.
I, this that speak in righteousness, mighty to save.
Mighty to save. Come on.
Wherefore art thou red in thy apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat.
He is the one that what?
Treadeth in the wine fat.
Our Hebrew custom in farming, in harvesting, you smash into pieces the wine press to produce the wine or the oil. Come on.
I have trodden the winepress alone.
The Most High said, Christ said, I have what?
I have trodden the winepress alone.
I'm the only one doing it by myself.
And of the people, there were none with me.
I went among the Gentile elite and their governments and saw that none of them really teaching the real truth of Christ. None of them is really obeying my commandments. I've trodden the winepress by myself. No one is really believing in the truth. Come on.
For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury.
Come on.
And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments.
Ooh, that's why you see that his garment was full of blood of grapes, bloody. Come on.
And I will stain all my garments.
I will stain all my remnants. Go ahead.
For the day of vengeance is in my heart.
The day of what?
Vengeance is in my heart.
When he's coming to retribute and raise back his people, the Israelites and all righteous people. Come on.
And the year of my redeemed is come.
Who are his redeemed? Israel. Come on.
And I looked, and there was none to help. I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore, my own arm.
Therefore, my what?
My own arm.
The Most High sent Christ to bring what?
Brought salvation unto me.
Yahweh. Yahweh. He's the one that's called Yahweh or salvation to bring harvesting, to harvest the earth. Harvest the Israelites and harvest the Gentiles. You go to Revelation, you read the same thing too. My own arms brought salvation to me. Read it.
And my fury, it upheld me.
My own fury, which is because Christ is part of the Elohim. That's why that part of him that's bringing salvation kept the Father cool. Otherwise, the Father would have broken out and destroyed the earth. That sacrifice that he did on the cross is immense. Powerful. You want to go to Revelation chapter 11?
All right.
Where he talked about he is the word of Elohim. Revelation chapter 11, I believe. Where he tells you that that same word that's coming to harvest is coming with fury and anger to thresh. He coming with fury and anger to thresh the earth. Remember the one where it's called the word of living power, and his name is called the word. It's called the word of God. It's coming to thresh. Revelation chapter 19 is the one. Revelation 19 verse what? Verse 1. Revelation chapter 19, let's read it.
Revelation chapter 19, verse 1.
Yes. Actually, verse 11.
Verse 11 says, And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithfulness and True.
He was called what?
Faithful and true.
Faithfulness or faithful to do or execute the judgment and thresh this earth and harvest it according to the will of the Father, and true. Read it.
And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
He's coming to what?
Judge and make war.
He is the one riding the white horse to bring war upon the earth. Like we've seen, we're going into that final war. Come on.
His eyes were as flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
And his head was what?
Many crowns.
He's taking Bush crown, Obama crown. He has taken the crown of Queen of England, the luminous power crown. Iran, Iraq, he's taking the crown of the Chinese government, and he's got it. So what do you think they expected him to come? No. Come on.
On his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
Go ahead.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
He is full of blood. He's coming for war, not for peace. War for us before peace. Go ahead.
And his name is called the Word of Elohim.
The word of what?
The Word of Elohim.
The word of Elohim. Come on.
And the armies which were in heaven.
And the what?
The armies which were in heaven.
He's coming with what?
The armies.
Military power. Angelic military. This is the real alien invasion. They're coming to invade the earth in the global cataclysm. That's what it's all building into. The armies which are in heaven coming to earth, come on,
followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword.
So you're going to do what with it?
That with it he should smite the nations.
He should smite the what?
The nations.
The Gentile government that have destroyed the nation of Israel. Come on.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
The law in power. Come on.
And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Elohim.
Almighty power. Christ is coming to thresh, to harvest the earth, to thresh.
It's funny how they use Allah Shoda here.
Yes.
Because of
Almighty.
Because it's coming.
Yes, it's coming to smash this earth, man. Woo! This is going to be great, man. My brother just identified it. He says it's amazing how they use the one. He threaded the earth with the fierceness of the what? Almighty Allah Shoda there, which is the one that the supreme almighty power. He will crush this earth
Man, this is so specific, man.
Yeah. Christ, that's why you see the government fear the return of this one. This is the one they fear. He's coming to take care of business. So we tell our people to get rid of all the idolatries, come out of all these false churches, and get ready for Christ's return. He's coming to bring us back, to harvest us. Let's try to finish this teaching, brothers. Hang in there. I want to finish this thing strong. Let's go now to book of John chapter 15 verse 1 to 17. This is he speaking. Yakenen chapter 15 verse 1 to 7. Let's read it.
John chapter 15 verse 1, and it reads, I am the true vine.
What did Christ say?
I am the true vine.
He said what?
I am the true vine.
Come on.
My Father is the husbandman.
My Father is the owner. He is the Eto that was planted, that every life emanates from. Life flows from and through him and touches the earth. He behooved him that he had to come and die to bring everlasting life. He is the true vine, and the Father is the owner that did the planting with him in the beginning, or through him. Amazing. Exactly what the Holy Scriptures say. Come on.
Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he pruneth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the words which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me.
Go ahead.
I am the vine.
I am the vine.
And ye are the branches.
Ye are the branches that are coming out of him. We are extensions of him. Come on.
He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit.
Gentle.
For without me, ye can do nothing.
Without me, you can what?
Do nothing.
You have to link to him because it's the source of life. It's the chi that gives us chi life. Come on.
If a man abideth in me, he is cast forth as a branch. If a man abideth not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered.
And is what?
And is withered.
Because you're disconnected from the source of life. Come on.
And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you.
How do you abide in him?
If ye abide in me, and my words.
And my what?
And my words.
His words is how you abide. Come on.
Abide in you.
And what will happen?
Ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit.
The Father wants us to be productive, to be a fruit of righteousness and peace, all the fruits of the Spirit. That shows that we are the children of Elohim. Come on.
So shall ye be my disciples. As the Father had loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love.
Come on.
If ye keep my commandments.
If you what?
If ye keep my commandments.
How do you abide?
If ye keep my commandments.
Come on.
Ye shall abide in my love.
So commandment is how you abide in his love. Go ahead.
Even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love.
Because he's the head of the church. He's obedient, so we all should be obedient. Christ has a commandment to keep too. That's why he's faithfully executing the judgment to thresh the earth. Otherwise, he will not receive the kingdom. Read it.
These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full.
Come on.
This is my commandment, that ye love one another.
That ye what?
Love one another.
This is my commandment, that ye love one another.
As I have loved you.
Go ahead.
Greater love had no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servants knoweth not what his Lord doeth.
Israel used to be a servant, but we're not a servant anymore. But our people are still living like servants because they're not abiding in his commandments. Read it.
But I have called you friends.
Christ said that we are his brothers and his friends. Read it.
For all things have I heard, that I have heard of my Father, I have made known unto you.
Just like he did to the disciples, he's telling the same thing to us. Go ahead.
Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit.
And we should what?
Go and bring forth fruit.
The fruits of righteousness written in the book of Ephesians and everywhere in the Bible. Come on.
And that your fruits should remain. And that whatsoever ye ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, that ye love one another.
As
If the world hates you,
Now stop right
Okay.
there. That this thing he has commanded us that we love, because love is the fulfillment of the law.
that's right.
He's commanding us because he's coming to judge, to love him and love brothers and sisters in the truth. Isaiah, Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14 verse 14.
Revelation chapter 14, verse 14.
This is the harvester.
And he reads, And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown,
The Son of Man, DNA of mankind, having on a what?
having on his head a golden crown,
This is the Eto, the Son of Man. Go ahead.
and in his hand a sharp sickle.
In his hand a what?
A sharp sickle.
A sharp what?
Sickle.
Sickle is used for harvesting, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe.
The harvest of the earth is what?
Is ripe.
This is the time of threshing, to harvest the earth. In the times of consummation where we are right now. Come on.
And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And the angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe.
What verse?
Verse 19 now.
Go ahead.
And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Elohim. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs.
That's the space of time when Christ is going to be harvesting this earth. Amazing. That's what we're going into. And he explains that in Isaiah when this is happening. Isaiah chapter 18 verse 1. We got 3 more precepts and we're done.
Isaiah chapter 18, verse what?
Verse 1.
And he reads,
Yacheya or Yache Yawa 18
verse
verse
1.
1 to 7.
And it reads, Woe to the land shadowing with wings.
Destruction and shame to what?
To the land shadowing with wings,
What land is he speaking about here? Go ahead.
which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia.
Beyond the what?
The rivers of Ethiopia.
This is the rivers of Cush. This is the map of Africa, including Jerusalem, like I've shown before. Here you see Jerusalem. You come down right here when we fled, like I showed previously. This is the area where we fled into and moving to Slave Coast. Here is where Cush is. All this area was already occupied in Northeast Africa. So we were forced to go over there. So when you see the rivers of Egypt, River Nile comes down here and joins the river Ethiopia right here. So what you're seeing is that beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, the land that he's speaking about is beyond what? Beyond what?
The rivers of Ethiopia.
The land is beyond what?
The rivers of Ethiopia.
What is he referring to? He's looking at the slave coast of Africa. This is beyond the rivers of Cush. This is the rivers of Cush down here, rivers of Ethiopia. Because we saw that we fled into those places in Egypt. We saw that Israelites are in Africa, where they got the slaves to the Americas. So this is the landmass that is speaking on the slave coast of Africa, where they got the slaves from. Because you're going to see that when America is destroyed, we're going to be heading back to the slaves coast, not going to be in Egypt, in Cush, in Patros, beyond, even beyond the rivers of Ethiopia where we fled into. This is the focus of this prophecy. Pay attention. Read it.
Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes.
When you look at the word sea, it tells you this is the Mediterranean Sea and the sea coast right there in the coast of Africa. We're sending ambassadors or representatives. This is, where are they sending ambassadors and representatives to?
Even in vessels of bulrushes upon the water, saying,
We used to send people from here, sending our people that were, because the Israelites was already scattered into Africa, scattered in this region before slavery to the Americas. And what were we doing back then? We were in Africa before anything that was like America.
Saying, Go ye, swift messenger.
Go ye, swift messengers. Where are they going?
To a nation scattered and peeled.
To a nation torn apart.
To a people terrible from their beginning.
We were terrible because we ruled this earth with the power of the angels of the Most High under David, Solomon, all the prophets, Joshua, all the ancients that when we were obedient, King David. We were terrible and the nation revered us. And that is why they don't want us to wake up. To a nation scattered from Jerusalem and peeled. So we were sending envoys from this area. We were all the way even in North Africa, sending them back to Jerusalem to see if they can connect with some of our people that was there before our total diaspora. This is before the time of the Romans. Come on.
To a nation scattered and peeled.
To a nation scattered and peeled. Even during the time of Romans. Come on.
To a people terrible from their beginning hitherto. A nation meted out and trodden down.
We are a nation what?
Meted out and trodden down.
Destroyed and reduced to nothing. Meted out and torn apart and reduced to nothing. Come on.
Whose land the rivers have spoiled.
Go ahead.
All ye inhabitants of the world and dwellers of the earth, see ye.
See ye. What does he want the earth to see? Come on.
When he lifted up an ensign.
When he lifted up an ensign.
On the mountains.
On the mountain. When is he doing this? In Isaiah chapter 11, read there real quick. Isaiah chapter 11, when the Most High is going to show his sign. The sign is who? Eto. Christ. Yache. Yache ya. Isaiah chapter 11. And he says here, verse 10. Read it.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to read it.
All right.
And in that day, there shall come a root of Yashi, or of Yashi. That's Jesse in English, but in Igbo or Hebrew is Yoshi. We shall stand up for an ensign of the people, and to each shall the Gentiles seek. Even the Gentiles are going to be believing now, because America is already destroyed. All the Gentile government has been reduced to nothing. Only the nation of Israel will have the hope and the light for the world. Before the threshing, before the harvest. Kwashir. We shall stand for an ensign of the people, to each shall the Gentiles seek, and his resting place shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time. The first time was when we were in Jerusalem. The second time is the second returning, when it's coming to harvest the earth. To recover the remnant of his people, we shall be left in Assyria and from Egypt. Think about it. Egypt in Africa. Assyria, where the North American Indians went before they came to America. From Assyria, from Egypt, from Patros, right here. Patros. In Africa, from Cush. In Africa, the Cushites are the Ethiopians. From Elam, over there by Assyria, Babylon. And from Shinar, Babylon, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea, all the different islands of the sea. This is the gathering, the threshing of the earth. And he shall set up an ensign for the nation, and shall assemble the outcasts of Allah, and gather together the dispersed of Yehuda from the four corners of the earth. The 12 tribes of Israel will come back again. This has not happened. This prophecy, letting you know that the Jewish Zionists in Jerusalem did not fulfill this prophecy. The threshing hasn't happened yet. They are fake Jews.
That's right.
Invented Jews. Where? From the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia. They need to repent before the threshing. So we're telling them the same thing. So pick up from where you left off.
Isaiah chapter 18 verse 3. All ye inhabitants of the world and dwellers of the earth, see ye when he lifted up an ensign on the mountains, and when he bloweth a trumpet, hear ye. For so the Ahaya said unto me.
Listen to what Ahaya said to the prophet Yahweh, Isaiah. What did he say to him?
I will take my rest.
The Most High said what?
I will take my rest.
This is exactly what you saw in Revelation, where we read Revelation. I will take my rest. Go ahead.
And I will consider in my dwelling place.
I'm going to watch out and look on my dwelling place, because Christ is sitting to be unleashed. Next to the Father, you have these two powerful beings, black and shines, or golden bronze and shines like the sun. And they're sitting. The sun is waiting to be released like atomic bomb. And they're sitting. The Most High say, I will wait. This is a farmer now. So before he go to harvest, I will wait on my what?
I will take my rest.
What verse?
And verse 4 now.
Go ahead.
And I will consider in my dwelling place.
I'm going to be watching and looking around from my dwelling place.
Like a clear heat upon herbs.
Like a clear heat, when the heat is actually drying the herbs that you farmed on. Come on.
And like a cloud of dew.
Like a what?
A cloud of dew.
A dew of the morning.
In the heat of harvest.
In the heat of what?
Of harvest.
Of what?
Of harvest.
What about the harvest?
For the harvest.
Regarding the harvest.
When the bud is perfect.
When the bud is what?
Is perfect.
Come on.
And the sour grape is ripened.
And the perfect ripen of the sour grape, what will happen?
In the flower.
In the flower.
He shall both cut off the sprigs with pruning hooks and take away and cut down the branches.
Oh! He's cutting the earth in pieces. He's harvesting the earth. Come on.
They shall be left together unto the fowls of the mountains and to the beasts of the earth. And the fowls shall summer upon them.
That's how the earth, you're not going to recognize this earth. The peril is coming over the earth. This is what we're preparing after the tribulation is leading to all this stuff. And here comes Christ making his entrance, raising back the 144,000 that are harvested, raising back the Israelites that are coming back, and the Gentile that will reject the mark of the beast. This is the harvesting of the earth, brothers and sisters. He's waiting for that perfect time, like we read in Revelation. Chapter 14. Read it.
And all the beasts of the earth shall winter upon them. In that time.
In that time, what time? The day of the Lord, the second return of the Eto. The sign, the great sign of all mankind. What will happen?
Shall a present be brought unto Ahaya of hosts.
A present, because America has already been destroyed. America will be destroyed after the great. America is already gone at this time. The earth has been shifted. The capitalistic system has been collapsed. The only hope is Christ and his people waking up. At that time, a present of which shall be brought of Ahaya of hosts of who?
Of a people scattered and peeled.
A people, the same people that were torn apart and peeled from their nation, from Jerusalem. Come on.
And from a people terrible from their beginning hitherto.
We were the most powerful nation from our beginning hitherto that were chosen over all the nations. Come on.
A nation meted out and trodden underfoot.
We've been exploited and reduced to nothing.
Whose land the rivers have spoiled.
Go ahead.
To the place of the name of Ahaya of hosts.
Where are we going back to?
The Mount Zion.
Mount Zion. You're going to see poor people that have been exploited by NATO, exploited by American government, by the EU, by Bill Gates with the vaccine program. Right here in Africa, you're going to see a great migration from these regions back to where? Mount Zion. Mount Zion. The Middle Passage. We go right back to our homeland. Are we going to take the Middle East? Are we going to subdue the nations? That's why there's much hatred against our people. Because we are the sign for harvest. The awakening of our people is the sign for the earth. Amazing. That's why the poor are. They are subjected there for a reason. Go to Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 18. We're almost done. Just 2 more precepts and we'll round it up. Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 18. That's Zephaniah chapter 3 18.
There we go. Chapter 3 verse 18. And it reads, I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly.
Who is he gathering?
I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly.
Israelites that are sorrowful, that are concerned about the condition of our people. There's a solemn assembly. Go ahead.
Who are of thee?
Who are of what?
Of thee.
They are all Israelites. Come on.
To whom the reproach of it was a burden.
Those people that are concerned about the destruction of our people, that are crying, the Most High will gather those people. Not those ones that don't care. Come on.
Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflicted thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out.
Come on.
And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame.
We're going to get fame and praise every place that we've been destroyed and exploited worldwide, because that's going to be the main event. No more CNN, no more news media, no more Sephora's and Victoria's Secrets, no more Hollywood. All the distraction is gone. And you're going to see the poor rise out for harvest.
And it shall come to pass in the places where you were said, ye are not my people.
It shall be said unto them, these are the chosen people of the living power.
That's right.
Come on.
At that time, I will bring you again, even in the time that I have gathered you, for I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith Ahaya.
Amazing. He's going to reverse our slavery, reverse our captivity. Amos, chapter 8. Let's go to Matthew now to write up. Mattathiah chapter 13 verse 34. This is the last precept that ties everything together when he's coming to explain the precept that we started from in the beginning, where he tells you that Moses is the farmer. Matthew chapter 13 verse 34 to 43.
Matthew chapter 13 verse 34.
Mattathiah, an Igbo man, chapter 13
verse 34.
Go ahead.
And it reads, all these things spake Yahweh unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it may be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world.
That's in the book of Psalms. Go ahead.
Then Yahweh sent the multitude away, and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parables of the tares of the field.
Tell us the meaning of that parable that we started with from the beginning. We read that, remember? In the same verse and the same chapter. Let's find out what it means.
And he answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man.
He that soweth the good seed is who?
Is the Son of Man.
This is interesting. Christ is the one that's made the DNA of man that needed to come and die. He is the Son of Man that sowed the seed. Let you know that he created the earth. For through him and by him where all things was made. He that sowed the good seed is Christ, the Son of Man, Eto. That's the definition of this parable that we're preparing for the harvest. Read it.
The field is the world.
The field is what?
Is the world.
Erase where we exist. In this plane of life. That we're going to be harvested based on us obeying his commandments. Come on.
The good seed are the children of the kingdom.
The good seed are who?
Are the children of the kingdom.
The children of the kingdom. Come on.
But the tares
But the bad seed,
are the children of the wicked one.
the children of Satan that infiltrated the system. Come on.
The enemy that sowed them is the devil.
The enemy that sowed them is who?
The devil.
Nakoshi. We saw that he put in wickedness and darkness and exposed that scientific, intellectual, prognosticative knowledge that the whole world functions through, your science industry, your technological industry, that we learn in the school from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Duality, ancient mysticism. Go ahead.
The harvest is the end of the world.
The harvest is what?
The end of the world.
Where we are today. Come on.
And the reapers are the angels.
And the reapers are what?
Are the angels.
The angels. What verse?
Verse 40 now.
Go ahead.
As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels.
The Son of Man shall send for his what?
His angels.
Come on.
And they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend.
Everything that is evil and wicked, that angels from that tree of knowledge of good and evil, he's going to harvest the wicked first. Come on.
And them which do iniquity,
he's going to destroy them forth and cut them. That's the time of harvesting. Go ahead.
And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine.
Then shall the righteous what?
Shine forth.
Shine. The righteous will shine forth. How?
As the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who had ears to hear, whoever had ears to hear, let him hear.
Amen. Praise the Most High. Hallelujah. Whoever have ears, let him hear. That ends the teaching. The righteous will shine forth like Christ. The righteous will shine forth. That will shine like the sun. Is bringing light. We are preparing for the great threshing, the great harvest. We got to get ourselves in order, get our families in order, get our brothers and sisters in order. The nation of Israel got to get back in order to build the nation of Israel. The Gentiles needs to help us to build our nation back and reverse what has been done. He that have ears, let him hear. It was all a parable. This whole life is a parable. That's what Christ just explained. Ijenu, Eloah, Irezi, Ana Kwachashai. We are being, that's the Hebrew word, Kwachashi, to thresh, to cut. He's cutting the wicked, he's harvesting the righteous, and putting in bonds, and rewarding everything, putting things back in how it's supposed to be to correct this whole mess. So we will start broadcasting. If you're watching our live stream, we're going to be praying here on any meeting, the brothers and sisters, and we're going to end this teaching now.